and welcome to another episode of Beer Reactions. I'm Jono.
And I'm Paul. And this week we're going to be reviewing 3 more beers. We're going to be reviewing 2 brewery beers and 1 home crafted beer. And it's great that some of you have been getting in touch with us already and asking to send us some homebrew. So if you keep your eyes peeled, maybe one of your beers will feature in an episode coming to you shortly.
And at the end of the series, which we will announce when that's going to be soon, we will be crowning our Beer of the Year.
Which of course is our brewery beer of the year.
Beer, or a microbrewery beer.
And we'll also be crowning our home crafted hero, which is our home crafted beer of the year.
So if you haven't looked back at our previous episodes, please do so. Check in on our Beer Reactions channel, and please do subscribe, and please leave your comments below. So as Jeremy Paxman would say on University Challenge...
What did he say, Jono?
What did he say? He says, we all know the rules, so let's just get on with it, shall we?
Shall we unveil the ale?
Let's unveil the ale. Are you ready for this?
Here we go.
And for your delectation this week, Paul, I've brought you a Born in the Borders Liquid Velvet, which is actually a dark stout.
Well, interestingly enough, I also have a dark stout. I have a Russian Imperial Stout called Deer Hunter.
Fantastic.
From a brewery in Norway, I think it is. Is it Norway?
Norway.
Oh, I will check that. But yes, I think it's Norway or somewhere like that.
Grand.
Brilliant. I think this week it's your turn to...
It is. Do we just want to talk about it first a bit?
Yeah, introduce us to your beer.
Yeah, so this beer, this is Born in the Borders Liquid Velvet. Born in the Borders is in Jedburgh, is that how you pronounce it?
Jedburgh.
Yeah, Jedburgh,
yep.
Which is in southern Scotland. They claim to be the only plough to pint brewery in Scotland.
Okay, plough to pint, you're going to have to explain that.
Well, that means that they get all their barley that they use in their malt from surrounding fields to the brewery. So they don't import any barley in, which is good for food miles and things like that.
Climate change friendly?
Yeah, it is. They were founded in 2011, originally known as the Scottish Borders Brewery. And the brewery sells ales in both cask and bottle form. They've got a set of beers that they also do where they do some foraging, so they actually forage for ingredients to go into some of these beers.
So like locally foraged ingredients?
Yeah, so like they'll put elderflower, locally foraged things like elderflower to put in some of the beers. But they also have a distillery on site as well, and I think it's gin that they do. Okay. Now, Liquid Velvet, it's a dark stout, and they say that they use oatmeal in there, which they say gives it its creamy texture.
Right, okay.
And the ingredients listed are artisan spring water, malted barley, wheat, oats, hops and yeast, but they don't state which strain of hops and yeast they use.
Okay. I think oats are are very common in a stout, aren't they? They're a key ingredient of stouts.
That, and you tend to get a lot of roasted barley and crystal malt as well, but they're not listed in this.
In your stout that you brewed, do you use oats as well?
No, I don't. I use roasted barley, crystal malt, torrefied wheat, as well as your black malt and your pale malt.
Super.
Now, strangely enough, this particular beer, and I'll just show it to the camera there. This particular beer, I couldn't find any information on the brewery's website about it at all. There's nothing about this particular beer. Several others, but not this one. It says that it's cold filtered on the label, but my own personal opinion of things that say they're cold filtered, I just think it's marketing blurb, because nearly all beers are cold filtered.
Well, it's interesting because I was reading about cold filtered beers recently, and cold filtering a beer is for clarity.
Yeah, that's all it is.
And what happened? Well, I think actually all beer is filtered cold, so I think cold filtered is actually perhaps misleading. I'm not entirely sure about that, so do leave us a comment if you know a little bit more about that. But certainly, what bringing the temperature of the beer down does is it helps the proteins to collect together, and therefore you get greater clarity.
That's the point of it. It's supposed to make your beer more clarity, and chilling it down a little bit gets those yeast particles.
Now, some ingredients, for example, wheat beers that have wheat in them are very cloudy, as is seen with the German and Belgian wheat beers. And so if you were to add wheat to a beer, you might want to cold filter it in order to, certainly if you didn't want that sort of hazy look to it.
Indeed. I think clarity is something that we might discuss in a future episode, because I think there's a lot of things said about clarity of beer that's a little bit misleading. And that clear beers don't necessarily equate to a good beer.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. I think the other thing about cold filtering is that I think it extends the shelf life of a beer because it removes
potential things that that's like an air garnish in your beer.
But as a home brewer, I mean, we've opened beers that have been years and years old, and they've been pretty drinkable, really, haven't they?
They have, yeah. Once it's in there and there's no air can get in, it's good to go.
It's good to go, isn't it?
So,
shall we get pouring?
Shall we get pouring?
Let's get pouring.
Let's get pouring.
Now, are we going to hear that?
Let's see if we hear the...
Oh, a little bit more. That's good.
There was,
That's good. That's good. Now we're going for the CO2 break.
We'll go for the CO2 break, yes, and then we'll get the full aroma.
Okay. Now it's good to hear that somebody commented on the YouTube channel just recently that their wife is from the Czech Republic, and that she always pours beer with
a CO2
break.
With
a CO2 break. Okay.
So, first impressions on that. I mean, it is clear. As a stout, you can see through that. Holding that up to the light.
Yeah, I'm just going to hold this up to the camera so the folks at home can see. I'm going to hold it there for a second. Lovely.
I'm getting a sort of a smoky aroma.
There is
that.
A smokiness to it, actually.
Definite smoky aroma coming from this.
Hmm.
I don't think the head that's formed on that is quite as dense. I think is the right word to the one that Penkiln Porter.
It's a Penkiln Porter, perhaps not.
It was definitely more velvety. It was a bigger head on there.
It definitely has a smokier smell, I think, than the Penkiln Porter.
Yeah. And
what's the ABV? How much? What's the
alcohol? It's 4.5%.
Right. Okay.
See, I'm not getting the aroma to me there is faded away very quickly.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get in and have a taste of this.
Yeah, I think we need to.
It's pretty good though.
That is good.
That is. Oh yeah, there's a really nice. There's a really nice aftertaste to that.
There is. It's got an initial sweet caramelly. Sticky caramel flavour to it that then turns bitter afterwards.
And do you know there is a kind of there's almost a milkiness to it.
There is. It's very creamy. That must be the oats that they claim that the oats give it that creamy velvety texture.
Yeah, that's right.
And
that's right.
I do think that's working, but I'm getting a very sweet, sticky, almost like when you go out on bonfire night and you have a bit of that.
We talked about bonfire toffee with your Penkiln Porter, didn't we?
But there's also a coffee. I'm getting a sort of coffee chocolatey taste with that as well, and then it that dissolves into something a bit more bitter, which I'm just assuming is the hop coming through afterwards. But we don't know what hops they use in it. So again, if you're connected in any way to Born in the Borders Brewery and you can tell us what hop strains you use in this particular beer, we'd be very interested to find out.
And where did you get it from, Jono?
Well, I got it from the local supermarket.
I'm guessing which supermarket it was. Yeah.
I won't say which supermarket because we're not into product placement.
If you live in Scotland,
yeah,
there's one supermarket with a German name that does exceptionally good beers at a very good price.
Aldi not at limited to say that. Other supermarkets are available, but that is very good. I like that. I do like that sweetness that then it sort of dissipates into a bitterness. But I don't think there's any fruitiness. I'm not getting any fruitiness really.
No, there's no fruitiness from that. Just bitterness. But I mean, saying that, it's not particularly bitter. There is that kind of burnt flavour to it, but it's not overpowering by any means.
No, it's not. Very good. So,
I
Max?
could quite easily sink a few pints of that, to be quite honest.
I'm sure I could as well.
That is really, really
I'm
nice.
trying to think about scoring. As you can see, folks, we've now got our scoreboard because we've tested a few now.
So where do you think this beer scores? I'm going to have one last taste, I think, before we score it.
It'd be rude not to. I think I'm going to give that 5.
I'm going to give that a 6.
Okay. Yeah. I'm giving it a 5 because I like stouts and it's not the best stout I've tasted.
Okay. I mean, maybe for me, not being a huge stout fan, this is a very drinkable stout.
Yeah.
And I could quite easily, drink a few pints of that. It's certainly not as strong tasting as something like Guinness, which is quite a, dark flavoured stout. So for me, yep, I'm going to give that a 6. Perfectly drinkable, but perhaps not my favourite style of beer. So I think that's a really well done to Born on the Borders Brewery. Indeed. And I would certainly quite like to taste a few more beers from Born on the Borders.
They've got a few.
They've got a few actually, and one thing I did notice about Born on the Borders Brewery is that they once a month they do a brewery school. Mm-hmm. So it's for first time brewers. Yeah, which is quite.
Some of the beers I've got is Foxy Blonde, Game Bird, Holy Cow, Dark Horse. I wonder if that's taken over this one.
Okay.
Flower of Scotland and Gold Dust. Okay. So it'd be interesting to try some of those.
So well done, Born on the Borders. Slange.
Slange.
So the next thing we're going to look at is my beer that we brought along today, which is...
Can you just remind us again what it is?
It's called Deer Hunter, and it's a Russian Imperial Stout. I'll just show that to the camera.
Russian Imperial? Does that mean it is actually Russian then?
Well, no, it's not. Now, let me tell you, because I don't really know much about Russian Imperial Stouts at all. In fact, I hadn't actually heard of a Russian Imperial Stout before.
No, me neither.
So it's a beer that was actually brewed in the 18th century. And it was brewed in London.
It's looking well.
It's looking well, isn't it? It was brewed in London for export to the court of Catherine II of Russia.
Catherine the Great.
Hence it being a Russian Imperial Stout. Now, traditionally, Russian Imperial Stouts have a high alcohol content, greater than 9%. And this one, are you ready for this, Jono?
Yes, I'm ready.
An alcohol content of 13.4%.
So it's actually more like drinking a wine.
A fine wine.
Yes.
Indeed.
And it's funny that you should say that though, because what we're trying to get across with some of these beers is that really people should be thinking about beer in the same way that you would do a fine wine or a single malt whiskey, is that they're all different, and you can pick beers for specific occasions or specific meals and things like that, just as you can with a wine.
There's absolutely a beer for every occasion.
There is, definitely.
That's right. So, I mean, Russian Imperial Stouts are actually really popular in the US at the moment, in the craft beer market in the US. So this one is from a brewery in the Netherlands. I said Norway earlier on. Sorry, Norway. It's actually from the Netherlands. It's a brewery called Frontaal Brewery, and they're in a place called Breda in the Netherlands.
Right, okay.
Okay. So they were founded in 2015, and they brew according to the slogan "Beer for Thought." Okay. So what do you think that means, beer for thought?
I think if you drank too many of those, your capacity to think would be vastly reduced with any clarity. Anyway.
Well, what they're saying is that they want to create like tastes and colours that stimulate the drinker's senses and make you think differently about the world around you. And one of the interesting things about this brewery is that they say they're a transparent brewery. Okay, now that's got absolutely nothing to do with the quality of their beers. Okay. But what they mean by that is that they'll tell you exactly what's in the beer and what you should drink.
Well, that's refreshing.
Or how you should drink it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of the bugbears I have looking at beers, is that a lot of beers don't tell you what's in it. Sometimes they'll tell you the types of barley or wheat that's in there, and sometimes they'll tell you the types of hops that are in there, but rarely will they tell you everything that's in there.
Generally, it's just an ingredients list for allergens.
That's right. That's true.
Contains malted barley and yeast.
That's true. Yeah. So, in terms of ingredients in this beer, we've got pale malt, roasted wheat, brown malt, oat malt, chocolate malt, Caramunic malt, and Carafa malt.
Right.
Now, Carafa malt was the one that I hadn't heard of before, and I had a little bit of a Google about Carafa malt this evening. And it's a speciality malt that's roasted to give a coffee espresso-like bouquet.
Is that Cara as in C-A-R-A?
No, it's C-R-A-F-A.
Right.
Carafa
Right.
malt. And so the description of this says that it's beer for tough people, and that you should drink it either during a storm or around a campfire.
Right. Well, we've got the stove on.
It's not stormy. We do have the stove on, and I think Jono and I I'd say we're pretty tough, pretty gnarly. I'm not, should we ask our wives?
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
We'll ask them later.
So in terms of expectations of how this is going to taste, I'm expecting it to be a very deep, dark flavoured beer, perhaps chocolate flavours, but I'm also expecting some sort of coffee-like taste or aroma from it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that's what comes out.
So, shall we get pouring, Jono?
Let's get pouring.
Okay. Okay, you ready to hear that? Oh, that's not bad.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't as big as I thought.
Okay.
For a beer that's been sitting in bottles since
There we go.
1760.
Gosh, look at that being poured out. Wow.
It's like tar.
God, that is incredible. Gosh, it is like tar, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is incredible. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
Well, yeah, I have, but when I emptied the oil out of my sump,
It does look a bit like oil or something, doesn't it? That is incredible.
incredibly dark.
Wow, look at the
Do you
colour
know,
of that
it
head.
actually looks like Jägermeister.
Yeah, it does look a bit like some. Well, Jägermeister is clearer than that. I'm just going to leave that in the middle there. I'm just going to hold this up to the camera because
That smells.
it smells incredible.
That does. This.
Just holding this up.
There's
to the
definitely.
camera.
I can smell dark chocolate in there.
The colour of that head is brown. You remember the stout we had earlier?
Yeah, with the white head. This is
Absolutely.
definitely. It almost looks like the top of an espresso.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! I mean, there is a very chocolatey aroma from
There
it.
is. I like chocolate. It's almost like a mocha.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, like a mocha beer. That is incredible. Honestly, the viscosity of this beer is not
I'm
something
also getting
I've
licorice.
seen before in a beer.
No.
I've never seen a beer that is so thick
It
and
looks like
oily as
thick
this.
beer. I'm getting licorice as well. In a smell.
Yes, there is a licoriciness to it for sure. Oh, that is
I'm sorry, I'm going to
incredible.
have a sip of that while I've got the scent in my nose.
Holy moly!
That is more that is like drinking. It's like drinking port.
That is unbelievable.
Not in taste, the texture that you get from when you sip a glass of port. It's a similar texture, that viscosity.
I think that kind of viscous texture is a bit like hot chocolate.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, not that it tastes.
It don't taste anything like hot chocolate.
but that kind of the viscosity, the texture of it is like hot chocolate.
It's very bitter. It's like if you'd never had a drink of coffee before, black coffee, and you tried a black coffee, that bitterness, that smoky bitterness that you get, it's got that, but it's thicker than that. It's got the same viscosity as a glass of port would have.
But it's very sweet as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like port is. It's that kind of sweetness.
Paul, that is stunningly good. Where did you get that, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh.
Did you actually go to Holland to get this?
No, I bought this in a place called the Beer Cave, which is near Haymarket Station in Edinburgh.
Okay.
There's a slight fruitiness there as well. I can't quite describe it, but there is a very slight fruitiness there.
It's like bitter black currants.
Mm.
If you pick a black currant off a bush when they haven't been sweetened, they are very bitter. It's that. It's
black currants or blackberries or something like that. Yeah, it is.
Especially with that licoricey sort of flavour.
That is an exceptionally good beer.
It is.
Exceptionally
unusual. Scoring, well, I don't know where you begin with them. It's in a league of its own. It almost needs a scoreboard to itself.
It does.
I think that one and Polly's Brew need to be on a separate scoreboard. Unusual beers.
They're kind of Premier League beers, aren't they?
Yeah, they're in a league of their own.
They are.
I'm going to go right out and give that 10.
I'm going to give that a 9. The only reason I'm not giving that a 10 is just in case something better comes along before.
Well, it may well do, but the reason I've given it a 10 is because I think it's a once only. You're going to try that once and remember it. You're never going to forget what that tastes like.
You're never going to forget that. Well, you might if you have 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, but it's supposed to clear your thinking and it's going to give you clarity of thought. But
that's really interesting because what was it we said about that? The brewery's goal was to challenge your senses, was it? Or make you think differently about
it's
beer.
Just sweet and sticking.
Absolutely phenomenal. So at home, I would urge you guys to go out and try this Imperial Stout because it is like nothing I have ever tasted before.
Particularly if you can get this one, dear
And
Hunter.
Frontaal Brewery in the Netherlands, in Holland, you've done an absolutely fantastic job with that.
It's even sticky on your fingers.
It's incredible. Incredible. Great. Slange, Jono.
Slange. I think it's time to try a home-crafted brew.
Yeah, let's do that. Now, it's worth noting that we're only into episode 3 and we're still putting the call out there for you guys at home to send us some of your beer to taste. And it's great that some of you are starting to get in touch with us already. So we are expecting to get some viewers' home-crafted beer to taste, hopefully for the next episode, Jono.
Indeed, yeah, that'd be great.
But for this episode, last week we tasted one of mine.
Little Brown Mouse.
And I think this week we should go back to you, Jono.
Okay, we'll go back to me, yeah.
What have you got for us?
Well, I've got for you, Paul, a bottle of Jono's Artisan Ale.
Oh.
Bladnoch Brownie.
That's a good one, viewers. I've tasted this one before.
I'll show it to the camera. Bladnoch Brownie is based on a brown IPA, a brown ale, a traditional brown ale you might say, but I've tried to combine that with elements of an IPA so it's got more zest to it than that.
Okay.
Traditionally
IPAs are quite bitter, and that was so that they could
travel the
world.
Indeed.
So would you say it's a bitter beer, Jono?
I think it's quite bitter, but I also think it's got very pleasant fruity aftertones to it. It's made using pale malt and black malt only.
Okay.
And it contains.
And I guess that's a tiny percentage of black malt, is it?
Yeah, it's there's about 30 grams of black malt in to a batch of for 25 litres.
4.5 kilos.
Yeah.
That's tiny, isn't it? Tiny.
Indeed, tiny amount, but it just tips it over into that slightly bitter chocolatey.
So it's an IPA with 30 grams of black malt. That's really interesting. I hadn't appreciated that.
Indeed.
So where did you get that idea for that recipe from?
Basically, just experimentation. One of my favourite, back home in Yorkshire, when I used to live in Yorkshire, one of my favourite beers, and in fact, favourite beer of my wife was Timothy Taylor's Landlord.
Right. Okay.
So I basically messed about and I tried to get something similar to that.
Yep. Okay.
Basically, just by trial and error.
Okay.
And in fact, it's been up against Timothy Taylor's Landlord in taste trials, blind taste.
Has it really?
It has.
And has it come out top?
It's always come out top.
Oh.
Indeed.
Interesting. It's the Pepsi Cola of the brewing world.
It is indeed, and it's got Styrian Goldings and Fuggles in it. But then I boil hop it with Styrian Goldings as well.
Right. Okay.
Just to give it a bit more hop kick.
Okay. Good.
So there you go. Shall we try it?
Let's do it. Let's see if we get a tss. So before you do it, How long's it been in the bottle, John?
Oh, it's been in the bottle at least 10 weeks.
Oh, it's only 10 weeks. Right, good, okay.
This one.
So it should have conditioned.
It should.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
You can see the CO2 coming out.
Yeah, absolutely can. Brilliant. Okay.
So, here we go.
Let's get pouring. Oh, that's beautiful, Jono. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. For a home crafted beer, that is exceptional.
So, again, the CO2 break that I'm trying to get here.
Now, I was just going to say, is that lighter than previous batches of Bladnoch Brownie?
Well, it could well be, but I think that's because of it. You get inconsistencies with batches there, because I always use black malt in it, not chocolate malt. And sometimes it actually does look darker than other times. And I think that's just down to...
based on the particular roast.
Exactly, perhaps. And how long it's been left roasting, and sometimes it comes out blacker than others. But that is the beauty of making your own beer, because even though you've... this recipe always comes out exactly the same ABV, the same original gravity, the same final gravity, but yet it does look slightly different in colour every time.
I'm just going to hold this up to camera, John, if that's okay. Looks great. Beautiful head.
There's a very floral scent to it, I always think. You don't tend to get that floral scent, I think, when it's out of the keg either. More when it's been in the bottle.
It's really interesting, isn't it, the difference between kegged beer and bottled beer. Bottled beer really does develop much better condition.
It does.
Quite interesting that Little Brown Mouse we had last week of mine, out the keg, there's still a little bit left in the keg, and it's still pretty good out the keg.
It will be.
But in the format we delivered it last week, it wasn't quite so great.
Yes, there's a floral smell there, and a little bit of a...
It's quite a delicate flora, or aroma rather. And I think in terms of the beers we've it's a very delicate smell. Yeah, let's get in there. Oh, it's definitely got a floral taste, I would say, hasn't it?
There's a slight biscuity note at the beginning, a little bit nutty.
I'm thinking of flower meadows and butterflies, which is strange because I wouldn't say it was a summer ale, but there's definitely... It's
nice. It does give that. It's one that you could drink on a nice summer's day.
This has been a really great beer, Jono. Thanks very much. I've really enjoyed tasting that and drinking that. And I think what I would say to you guys at home is, could you please subscribe to the channel, look us up on our Facebook page as well at Beer Reactions, and do get in touch if you want to send us some beer of your own to try. And as we said earlier, we're quite hopeful that we'll have some homebrew or home crafted beer from you guys at home to try in the episodes ahead.
Coming up, indeed.
Great. Okay.
Slange.